Welcome to the MLB Slate Breakdown. I'm Jason Gilbo. With me is Brent Hine, taking a look at tonight's 14-game MLB slate. Not a bad one here. We don't have the greatest pitching options in the world, but there are a couple options. Eric Lauer, everyone was raving about his 4K price tag yesterday, and it didn't change.
Yeah, I'm super excited about Eric Lauer at 4K against the Mets. We'll get to that one here a little bit later. All I got to say is it is way too freaking hot for these people to be playing baseball. Like, just pack up this season. It's too hot. No one wants to go sit in 110-degree temperatures. No one wants to play in 110-degree temperatures.
No,
It's
no, they do not. I mean, not at all. I don't even want to write about it in 100-degree temperatures.
I don't want to record in 100-degree temperatures.
But it does give a bump to bats. We have seen some more offense, I feel like, since the break. There's been some teams exploding. We have the Pirates who are red hot. We'll get to them here in a little bit. And I think there's just a couple of really surprising, like, Vegas totals on the slate.
Yeah, there's a couple that I think are a little too low. One of those we'll get to here shortly. And like when I saw Oakland at like y- last night it was like 5.7 runs. I think it's come down to like 5.3. I was pretty excited about that one. And then like you have a couple other teams like the Cubs over 5 against Clay Buchholz. Some interesting totals for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, we got weather on the East Coast that we'll need to keep an eye on, especially in this first game. We're going to talk about Boston Baltimore. It's probably the more worrisome game of the slate that doesn't play, which I'm okay with because I don't have interest in pitching, and I'm always okay fading Boston at their ownership.
Yeah, I usually am too, and especially against like a pitcher who has not really shown to be terrible. Like I think if people were to look at the matchup, they'll be like, I don't even know. This is just no name pitcher. I'm taking Boston against him, but like Ramirez has been solid. His peripherals look good, good strikeout stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily be too inclined to take any bats against him in the spots. Even if this game did play, like I might get like a Jackie Bradley or one of these cheaper bats, just because it is a good hitting environment and the wind is supposed to blow out. But again, it's probably going to be like flooding in Baltimore, so it's probably not even going to play.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like, it's like you said, it's the Jackie Bradleys, like Mitch Moreland's a fair price around the industry, good park there for lefties. Those would be the guys that I'd have interest in, maybe a Devers for cheap, just given his off-speed stuff is pretty solid. Because, I mean, overall, like you said, Ramirez is a guy, he's missing a lot of bats and he's throwing a lot of that off-speed stuff.
Yeah, he really is, and like again, it's the lefties. The hard contact lefties is about 40%, 352 wobo allowed, but still decent strikeout stuff. Like he's still got like a 25% strikeout rate against left-handed hitters. So I would be looking at the lefties. Just know they're definitely not safe.
Yep. On the other side, Drew Pomeranz making a start back from the DL. He's been bad this year. To righties, 410 WOBA, 258 ISO, near 40% hard contact or a 40% flat ball rate. Um, the problem is here, like I like a couple of these options in GPPs, but I think I just find them so low on my list that they'll probably never make it into lineups.
Yeah, I completely agree there. If I wasn't even worried about this game not playing, they'd be pretty low on my list. Like a Jonathan Scope might be like one of the only guys that I really have a ton of interest in because he hits that curveball when he makes contact pretty well. He's got a 280 ISO, 398 WOBA against it, but only a 63% contact rate, and that curveball is something that Pomeranz has been trying to throw a lot this season. Whenever he's been able to pitch, he's throwing it about 37% of the time. He'd probably be one of the only guys, maybe like a Danny Valencia, just because you get that platoon advantage. And Valencia 227 ISO against lefties this season. That'd be about it for me.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Let's move on. LA and Philly. Kenta Maeda take on Aaron Nola. Two of the more expensive pitching options on this slate. Rather low total. There is a little bit of weather concern still in this one as well. I don't mind either of these guys. I think it's kind of more just dependent on the slate. Like, I'm not thrilled with a lot of other options. I'm going to be probably floating in that mid-range a little bit more. But that being said, I still think they're relatively safe in this floor as far as like cash games go.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, obligatory Dave Roberts pitcher. rant. But outside of that, like Kenta Maeda, dude has just insane strikeout stuff this season. I mean, he's hovering right around the 31% mark, which is way up from last year. Against a Phillies team, this projected lineup, 25.3% strikeout rate against righties. It is a good spot for him. Like the issues that Maeda had against lefties last year, not as big of a deal this year. I mean, at 316, Woba allowed 152 ISO, still some hard contact, with giving up like 41%. But overall, there's only really guys like Nick Williams, Odubel Herrera, maybe the two guys that I worry about the most in this lineup as far as sluggers go. But I think he's a fine option if you want to roll him out in cash games.
Yeah, I'm with you. And like Cesar Hernandez is questionable. Like that's kind of a better contact bat lefty that would be out of the lineup. I mean, that's a huge advantage because, like you said, it's Herrera, it's Williams, and that's kind of all you're worried about here.
Yeah, and if Hernandez is out, you probably get like a Jesmuel Valentin or something like that in his spot, and that's just another bat that you're not really worried about.
Yeah, and I don't have any interest really picking out Maeda here, like you said. Usually it's been with lefties, but he's limited a lot of power to him this year.
Yeah, for sure.
So, LA side of things, Aaron Nola been extremely good this year. Has pitched well against his Dodgers team earlier this season. He's $12K. I don't love the price tag. I think I'm going to be going other directions. That being said, I don't have a problem with people using him either. I think he's earned this price tag. I mean, obviously he's a guy who he doesn't allow power. He's fixed his issues against lefties as well. He's been really good. The strikeouts have been there. Still poor ballpark to pitch in. There's obviously still some power like Muncy and Pearson and Grandal. We saw that. So that does scare me a little bit, but I don't mind him here.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he's got to go up against Max Muncy is a little bit concerning. But outside of that, like this is still a good spot for Nola. As you mentioned, he has pitched really well against the Dodgers in their first outing this season, 7 innings, 7 strikeouts, put up like 30 DraftKings points. He is significantly better at home this season. He's averaging like 28.5 DraftKings points per game at home, and 18.2 on the road. It's still a good spot for him. I think I like him in tournaments a little bit more. I think Maeda is probably going to be the popular option in cash games, but I still think Nola has a pretty high ceiling in this spot, and I think he's a great tournament option if you're paying up for pitching.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there's still some strikeouts in this lineup here. I know it's not as much as earlier in the season, but I mean, you still got it.
Yeah, there's still a few guys obviously with Machado in that lineup now, that's going to drag that number down a little bit. But there are still some strikeouts in this lineup. I mean, you have Kemp and Bellinger both over 22%. You have Taylor over 30% against righties this season. And Max Muncy 24.8%. If he's not hitting a home run, he's probably striking out.
I don't have any interest in picking out Nola here, even with these guys. If you want to use a Max Muncy, that'd probably be the guy that I use it with just because the price is down a little bit. That's about it, though.
Yeah, those regression truthers are going to be happy tonight when Muncy doesn't hit a home run.
Next one here, Minnesota, Toronto. Speaking of home road splits, I mean, we've seen Barrios. He has struggled on the road this year. Is that a concern here for you tonight?
It is. It is a little bit of a concern for me tonight. And then obviously we have a couple guys in this Toronto lineup that have been really good over the past basically 2 weeks. And so that's also a little bit of a concern to me. Like, you have Smoke. Morales has been hitting a lot better recently. Solarte a little bit better as well. I think I'm off of Barrios in the spots. I guess in tournaments at that 10K price tag, not terrible. But yeah, I'm definitely not into him in cash games.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm off in cash. I don't mind him in GPP still. Like, he's just got that really good curveball that he throws about 29% of the time. Not a lot of great contact numbers against that pitch for Toronto. But like you said, it's just a couple of these bats have really heated up. Barrios on the road is something that does scare me. But GPPs, he's significantly different. Priced lower than like Nola and Maeda. There's not a ton of options, below him outside of a couple names that we'll get to. But so I think you can use him. And I think, if Paxton's completely healthy, I think Paxton can suck up most of that ownership.
Yeah, I think that's probably what will happen in that price range. Is Paxton will definitely eat up some of that ownership. So again, in tournaments, you can take a shot on him. This is a Blue Jays offense that we like to pick on at times, and they are still striking out about league average against righties this season. So, and that bottom that lineup is pretty gross outside of Aledmus Diaz, who has been really good recently too.
Yeah, so like I said, I mean, there's a couple of bats have been heating up. Do you have any interest here?
I might get like a one off of Smoke or Morales because both of them are pretty fairly priced across the industry. Maybe like a Teoscar, and that'd be about it.
Twin side of things here, you get the lefty Berkey on the mound. Not a lot of options that I'm loving in this spot. I do like Brian Dozier a little bit. I know his overall numbers this season against lefties haven't been great. Hard contact's been way down, but he's a guy who heated up before the break. He's a second half guy as well. I think that's a fair price tag for him at 4.3.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if I'm looking to pay up for bats, I don't necessarily hate Baroki as like a value option tonight. I'm being honest. Like he's been relatively good as an arm here. Like he has two bad games against Boston and Houston. Like not gonna knock the guy for not being able to produce against Boston and Houston, but like the Yankees and Detroit had a couple good outings. I think he's definitely viable, both in cash and tournaments as a value arm here.
I like that call. I mean, 7,400 on DK. Twins lineup continues to be just overrated against left-handers. We've seen it with Vegas. That was just basically the only name that I did like out of this lineup.
Dozier and Kepler.
Yeah, I mean that's about it.
Yep.
If no one saw, but you just took a nice healthy gulp of your coffee or water there. Like, you know what? I'm gonna use Brookie, and you're gonna deal with it.
It's a little whiskey in my coffee.
Let's move on. New York and Tampa. I'm not being lazy here. I just don't care about these games. They're not useful for me in DFS.
I hate the Rays for doing this stuff. Just a normal starting pitcher, 6 innings, 5 innings, whatever. Stop with this 1 inning and then a long reliever BS or 2 reliever BS. It just makes life so much more difficult. If this was like in New York, I would probably have a little more interest. I still think like a Greg Bird or like a Didi or a Hicks is fine. But like I just don't want to deal with this Tampa situation.
No, I don't either. I do like the Bird and Hicks calls just because they're below 4K on DraftKings. But like you said, it's a bad ballpark. There's tends to not be a lot of offense or upside in these games. It's still working for Tampa. You will say it makes things a lot harder. I think it makes things easier because it's in a game that I usually don't focus on.
That's true.
You want to talk Tanaka here because I feel like he's the only real guy that I feel like we need to talk about in this spot.
It just comes down to like I still just can't quit playing Tanaka whenever he's in this price range. Like he's had some rough outings at times, but like there's upside at his price at 8,600 on DraftKings against a Tampa offense that does strike out a lot. I mean, he still has a 24% strikeout rate this season, even though he's like throwing nothing but off speed stuff. I mean, if that slider and splitter are working for him, Tampa could be in trouble here, and I think it's a really good spot at that price tag for him.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's the price point play. It's whenever we get Tanaka below 9K, whenever you can get 20, 25 plus DK point upside out of him. It's something that I feel like you just kind of have to go with, and I don't like a lot of the other options around. And I kind of have a feeling like Zach Wheeler is going to be really popular. I know he's pitched well of late, but I feel like he's just going to be the guy that everyone goes with over like Tanaka in this range.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen as well.
So, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. This is a game that we noticed was relatively low implied total on the Pittsburgh side, which I feel like doesn't make any sense for a team that's won 10 in a row, can plug in about 5 good lefties, and against Shane Bieber, who has not gotten a lefty out since basically pitching in the majors.
Yeah, this is a spot where I am going all in on the Pirates bats. Sucks for all you Kluber users last night. Um, it comes down to like Dickerson, Polanco, Moran, Bell. These dudes have just been so ridiculously hot recently. And I can't get off these guys. Like they're still a little bit too cheap, and it's still just a really good spot for them. Against Bieber, you mentioned hasn't gotten a lefty out since he came into the majors. I mean, he's giving up a 4.11 WOBA and a 235 ISO to them, like at a 51% hard contact. You put these lefty sluggers in a good park, it could spell disaster for Bieber.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like it's lefties here. You said Dickerson, Polanco, but like I kind of like a Josh Bell as well here, who's probably going to be an overlooked part of this Pittsburgh lineup.
Yeah, Bell's been really good. Like over the last 2 weeks, he's got like a 484 WOBA. Still not a ton of power, 147 ISO, but 484 WOBA is pretty good. And then I mentioned like Corey Dickerson, 512 ISO and a 512 WOBA over the past 14 days. Those numbers are really good. And then Gregor Polanco, 450 ISO, 423 WOBA. And they all hit that fastball that Bieber is throwing really well. And then you can sprinkle in a Colin Moran, Austin Meadows if he gets in the lineup, Max Moroff, any of these lefties that get in that lineup, you can roll out.
Yep, I'm with you. Stacking the lefties here. Cleveland side of things, this is kind of a similar situation where we've seen Musgrove struggle with left-handers this year. Don't mind going with these options, but I think for me still it's the Yonder Alonsos, the Jason Kipnis, kind of the cheaper guys here.
Yeah, I don't hate going with the Yonder Alonso if you're going to fade like a Josh Bell. I don't know that I can pay the 5,700 for Lindor and the 5,900 for Ramirez. Like I know they've been really good, and they're great options here if you want to pay up and you can afford to pay up. Those price tags are tough to pay tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. Even though Michael Brantley at 5K is a little pricey for me.
Yeah, I agree there.
So if you want to use them, that's fine. If you want to use them as your one big pay up option, they are in a good spot. But when you close in the 6K range, that's just too much.
Yeah.
Moving on, Cincinnati and St. Louis. Austin Gomber taking on Homer Bailey. Bailey makes this slate fairly easy, I feel, tonight because St. Louis is away from home in a good ballpark. I don't find that they're reasonably expensive outside of Matt Carpenter, who's been the hottest hitter in baseball. You got a lot of good options here, I think, top to bottom.
Yeah, anytime like the dude's name is Homer. He's going to give up some home runs. Like you have to stack against him. It's a freaking unwritten rule. Dude's name is Homer. Stack against him. I can't fade Matt Carpenter. Like he's the expensive bat that I'm forcing in all my lineups. 824 ISO, 703 WOBA, and a 355 WRC plus over the last 2 weeks. Like, come on. That's ridiculous. And for all the hate we were giving this guy to start the season, he has turned things around. And Homer Bailey is not good. He struggles against lefties. He's got some really, really, really bad numbers against lefties, like a 393 WOBA, 271 ISO, 38% hard contact, 38% fly ball rate. Yeah, this is a good spot for Matt Carpenter, but even the righties, Pham, Molina, I love Yadier Molina up in that 2-hole. Really good spot for him. I mean, he's got a 204 ISO against righties this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like him a lot here in this spot. You mentioned like everyone in this lineup that finds their way in, whether they've been hot or not, like I'm going to get some exposure. You have a lot of cheaper options. Fowler's fairly cheap. Garcia, kind of upset about the fan price. I feel like he got jacked up quite a bit, but like I really like Paul DeJong as like a GPP shortstop option for 4K with some big power upside.
Yeah, he hits that fastball that Bailey's throwing really well. He's got a 490 ISO and 499 WOBA against it. Bailey's throwing that fastball like 50% of the time. It is a really good spot for Paul DeJong. Jose Martinez, someone else you can consider rolling out. Marcell Ozuna. I don't know that I can find myself using these Cardinals outfielders over like the Pirates outfielders. But if you're still wanting to get one or two of them, I would probably lean Ozuna or Pham. I can't do Dexter Fowler anymore. I can't.
Yeah, he had his one shining moment with the grand slam, and that was kind of about it. I agree though. I think the infield options is where you would rather go here. Hoping Martinez finds his way into the lineup because he's been kind of the guy who's been in and out of it of late.
Yeah.
So, Cincinnati side, team that was no hit for 7 innings last night and still won. Gomer the lefty, not a great one. I don't have a ton of interest though still in the Reds. I know their run total is fairly high, but like Eugenio Suarez here for me is a solid option at third base. He's a bit expensive, but against a lefty, I feel like he always has to be in play. And like a cheaper Adam Duvall's a nice GPP bat.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a large sample for Gomer Pyle on the mound here, but like he's struggled more against lefties. 456 WOBA allowed to lefties, a 250 ISO to righties, 185 WOBA. Again, we're dealing with a very small sample size, like 30 plate appearances to both sides of the plate. I still think Suarez is fine in the spot. He's got a 250 ISO, 431 WOBA dating back to last season, but like Scooter Gennett has been hitting lefties really, really well. A 359 WOBA to lefties. He's day-to-day, may not make the lineup. Have to keep an eye on that, but he's someone to consider. Phillip Ervin's an interesting name to keep an eye on. Projected to bat towards the bottom of that lineup, but a 4K, I don't mind taking a shot on him. And then like Tucker Barnhart behind the dish, still batting in that 2-hole against lefties.
Yeah, and he's only 3,200, 379 WOBA against Southpaws this year.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a look. San Diego and New York, Eric Lauer take on Zach Wheeler. Lauer was pushed back to today. He was 4K yesterday. He's 4K today on DraftKings. When he was scratched, it looked like someone won the Super Bowl because my timeline just went, no, like Eric Lauer, like I was going to use him tonight. Like it was a whole string of tweets, and I was like, Jesus, like, is he going to be that popular? And yeah, he's going to be that popular.
Yeah, he's going to be that popular. And I get it. I mean, it's the Mets. Like, I think that's pretty much all we have to say. It's the Mets. I mean, this projected lineup, there's a lot of strikeouts in this projected lineup against lefties this season, and it's the Mets. They have like one bat in that lineup with an ISO over 200 against righties or against lefties this year, and it's the Mets.
It's the Mets.
I feel like that's just all we need to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a good spot for a guy who's 4K, who's, usually I feel like we see relievers this price or just horrible pitching options in general, but it's a good ballpark. Lauer has pitched better. I know he struggled a little bit against the Cubs, but overall has pitched better over maybe his last 10 starts. For 4K, he doesn't have to do much here. With Coors on the slate, and if you're looking to get some right-handed Houston bats, even though Anderson hasn't been bad, Lauer I feel like is the guy to do it with.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to take that risk, you can eat it in cash games too. Just because if he only gives you like 15 fantasy points, like you're okay with that with the bats that you're going to be able to get in. So yeah, like I have absolutely no issues rolling him out. I think he's a fine option. Because it's the Mets.
Yeah. Other side of this one, Zach Wheeler, he's 7,700. I think a lot of people are going to look at this as a bargain. And he's been good. He's been producing solid fantasy points. He was good against the Padres earlier this year. I guess it's just more of a personal thing for me that I'm not a huge Wheeler guy. The hard contact to lefty still scares me quite a bit, and especially against this lineup. I'm just kind of hoping he falters off and just kind of falls apart and like he's 30% owned to GPVs.
That would be nice. I guess if you want to take the shot on him, there's strikeout upside in this spot against the Padres because they're the Padres. But like I might get a little bit of exposure. Like there's not a lot of names in this lineup that are really, really intriguing, but like Will Myers still hitting against righties really well, 244 ISO, and then like an Eric Hosmer, a guy that's not gonna strike out a ton. Like I know his strikeout rate is up this season, but like I still think he has potential to do some damage here if he can, stop hitting 90-mile-an-hour ground balls. Yeah, that'd probably be the only two. But again, Wheeler, if you want to roll him out, feel free. I won't personally be going there tonight in any format. I just don't see it. But yeah.
Yeah, we feel the same. It's not. Go ahead. I have no issue with using them, but there's other options I'm going to go with.
Yeah, although trade bait Zach Wheeler, there is the narrative. So maybe he's going to try to pitch really well so he can get the hell out of New York.
Oh man, I would love to see him go somewhere just in like a horrible ballpark so we can see how he is.
He's gonna be like, I'm gonna pitch really well so the Mets trade me, and then he's gonna end up in like Colorado.
I saw they had interest in Dylan Bundy and Kevin Gossman, and I almost threw up.
Apparently their goal is to get worse.
Yeah. Chicago, Arizona next. Kyle Hendricks taking on Clay Buchholz here. Like the Cubs, like their price tags, which I don't usually say too often here. They kind of sit in this mid 4K range on DraftKings. I still feel like Buchholz sucks against lefties, but I mean against righties as well. 229 ISO this year, 46% hard contact rate. When you can get Chris Bryant at 4,500, I know he hasn't been crushing righties this year. It just seems like a really nice price, and you kind of got to go for it.
Yeah, it is. It is interesting prices for a lot of these guys, even though and some of these Cubs bats just have not been producing this year. But you're gonna get like a Baez who has been really good against righties at 261 ISO. You're gonna get Ian Happ and his 900% strikeout rate. Who's in a good spot. He's got a 232 ISO against righties this year. Kyle Schwarber, 294 ISO against him this season. Good. Those would be the guys that I think I have the most interest in, and then maybe a Rizzo, batting leadoff Rizzo, always interesting. Against Buchholz, as you mentioned, has struggled with hard contact to or fly balls mostly to both sides of the plate, but hard contact to righties makes a couple of these bats interesting.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if Wilson Contreras is behind the dish, I know hasn't been as great this year, but cheaper catching option, I feel like in a good spot here.
Yeah, I mean, he's still hitting not a ton of power, but still 353 WOBA against righties this season. So that's still pretty decent numbers. Like, he may not go yard, but he's still producing pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. So good spot for these Cubs bats. Kyle Hendricks on the other side here. I don't really have interest in Hendricks at this price.
I don't either. I would rather take some of the lefties against him because he has been pretty darn bad against lefties this season.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like David Peralta in this spot. I want to use Jake Lamb. I just find it hard slotting him in over a couple other third basemen. But if you're building a ton of lineups, I think Jake Lamb's in play.
Yeah, I like him, but I can't. I mean, that's a good price for him. I'll be honest, 3,800. But I'm locking in Matt Carpenter and just pretty much moving on in this spot. So it's really hard for me to get Jake Lamb. But you mentioned David Peralta, it's a good spot for him. I really do like him here, but Ketel Marte, Descalso would be two guys to really keep an eye on. I still like Marte, still just a good contact bat. It's weird. I'm looking at two different projected lineups. He's in one projected lineup on one site and not in the projected lineup on another.
Yeah, that's been fun. I mean, Hendricks just he hasn't been good. An ERA over around 5 over his last 10 starts. I don't know. I don't trust him here in this spot. I think our Diamondbacks are a couple sneaky options.
Yeah, and a lot of these bats hit the sinker really well. Peralta does hit most of them on the ground, but 89% contact rate, 378 WOBA. Rake Lamb, 357 WOBA, 232 ISO, only 49% ground ball rate. Daniel Descalso, 201 ISO, 46% ground ball rate. So some bats to keep an eye on. They're not going to be popular.
Yeah, for sure. Moving on, Oakland and Texas. We saw Oakland play BP there last night. They get another lefty. The best part about that game was the fact that they brought in Matt Moore immediately after.
Things are tough when Matt Moore is the guy that you put in to save the day.
And it's just And it doesn't remove any of the guys like you look at, like you're like, oh man, Pinder gets a righty, Canha gets a righty. No, they don't. They get another poor, horrible lefty.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. And it's super hot in Texas. Like they got a cold front, and it's gonna be like 99 degrees instead of like 110.
Oh boy, man.
Thanks, Mother Nature, for the relief.
I mean, I guess I just kind of wanted to just replace what I said yesterday and put it into here because, it's all these guys again. If you want Chad Pinder, Mark Canha, all these guys, Piscotty's been heating up. Chris Davis is always a huge double dong threat, but I mean, you have plenty of options, and obviously Pinder. I don't even hate like a Marcus Semien leading off here either.
Everybody in this lineup, except for poor Jonathan Lucroy. He's the overlooked. He's the overlooked person. Yeah, this entire lineup, just plug them all in. I think Pinder and Mark Canha are like my two favorite options, but like Semien fills a spot at like a mid-range shortstop in a good spot here for him too. So everybody in this lineup, just yeah.
Yeah, I love the Pinder second base eligibility on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's really, really nice.
Yeah, so feel free to go back to the well. Texas side of things here, Montes is a guy, high velocity fastball, good sinker. Has struggled with lefties, the more he's developed into the majors. And I think that presents a couple of options here. Shin-Soo Choo. I think Odor's an interesting GPP second base option if you're looking for some power. Obviously, like there's no Mazar. I can't see myself using like maybe like a Calhoun or anyone or Guzman over some of these other options, but Gallo's interesting as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely okay with taking a couple of these like one-off just home run bats, and Gallo is someone that I will definitely be looking at if I have to get some exposure to Texas, just because Montes still just so bad against lefties. Willie Calhoun, interesting name to keep an eye on. Projected to bat at the very bottom of that lineup. What is his price on DraftKings?
It's 3,900. I looked and it was like, it's not as cheap as I wanted it to be.
Yeah, not as cheap as I would have expected. I'm looking on FanDuel. He's 2,500 on FanDuel. That's a good price there.
I don't mind that, especially in a place where you can use 4 outfielders.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of what it comes down to me. It's like I don't mind these guys, but I'm not as high on them as I am other outfielders.
Yeah.
Go for the lefties if you want. Next one here, we got Washington and Milwaukee. Jeremy Hellickson take on Junior Guerra. This game, I don't even know where to begin.
Just throwing it away.
I mean, I'm not like I don't feel like it's that great of a game to target.
I have interest in Hellickson. That's about it. And it's just because there is some strikeout potential here. Like I know Hellickson league average strikeout rates, but like the Brewers not very good right now. 23% strikeout rate against righties. Hellickson has not been terrible this season. I think at that price tag, like I'm definitely willing to take a shot.
I don't blame you. I don't know if I can do it, but I don't blame you. Like it's not a bad spot. Like you said, there's plenty of strikeout upside. You're getting Thames probably back into the lineup here, who just brings like a near 30% strikeout rate against righties. Like you said, Hellickson has been bad. Good changeup. His curveball's been working as well. So if he's using those against a team that struggles to get both those pitches, should have some success here. I'm definitely more inclined to use a couple of the lefties against Guerra.
Yeah, and like I will say this: I'll have more interest in Hellickson if Aguilar remains out. He's questionable for this game with a hamstring injury. So
Yeah.
if he's out, I even have more interest in Hellickson. But on the lefty side for Washington, Soto, Soto and Eaton, I guess. But like I'm not. 4,700 for Harper's really tough to overlook.
It is.
He has not been great.
No, he hasn't. It is a nice price tag on him. I do like Soto and Eaton as well. The thing is for me is like, it's still, I like a little bit other outfielders. It's kind of what it always comes down to. I like the Oakland guys for a little bit cheaper in that hot ballpark. I like Pittsburgh. I like some of these Cardinals options as well. So I think that's kind of where I'm headed.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm going as well.
So, of course, I said yesterday Daniel Murphy's the guy I don't want exposure to, and he was the guy to do something. Finally, God forbid, you lost money if you played Murphy every night in the one night he hit. I'm sorry.
He's up to 2 homers now, so there you go. At 4,100, that's not a terrible price, but I can get Chad Pinder the same price.
Yeah,
and I'll take
exactly.
Chad Pinder.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Detroit, Kansas City. Jordan Zimmerman taking on Birch Smith. Reasonable run total here. High. I guess it's a relatively warm night there in Kansas City. I don't know. I think this is kind of a throwaway game for me here at these prices.
I will say I don't hate Jordan Zimmerman in tournaments. And that feels really dirty to say. But I don't hate Jordan Zimmerman in tournaments just because he is a guy that has been pretty good this year, uncharacteristically good for Jordan Zimmerman standards. Not really bad against hitters on either side of the plate, decent strikeout stuff. Fly ball is a little concerning, but some of that's mitigated by the fact that Kauffman Stadium is huge. And the only guy really I worry about in this lineup is going to be Moustakas and maybe Duda. But I think in tournaments, Zimmerman has potential to put up a pretty solid outing here.
I don't hate it. He's 8,800. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but I do like him. It's a Royals team that the strikeout rate is actually a little bit higher than what people think. Like you said, Zimmerman has not been bad this year. I think for me on this slate, he just keeps me from not using Orioles, I guess is how I'd say it. Which I don't need much, but he's been good enough to where I'm like, if this was last year's Zimmerman, I'd be more willing to take some shots against him. But like you said, he's been pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's been I don't know who they replaced Jordan Zimmerman with, but that's not Jordan Zimmerman that we're seeing on the mound. That's somebody else.
Yeah, he reminds me of which he was better in Washington.
Yeah,
this is kind of what we're seeing about.
Someone's wearing Jordan Zimmerman as a suit right now.
Detroit side, if this was a different slate, I'd have some interest here. There's just no way I can use these bats over any of these other teams we've mentioned.
It is tough. The prices on them aren't terrible though. Nico Goodrum's pretty fair. Heimer Candelario, pretty good price there as well. And Birch Smith, this guy has been really bad against lefties. 406 WOBA, 233 ISO allowed. I could understand using like I said, Nico Goodrum, Candelario, maybe a Leonis Martin here.
Yeah, the front four, I really like them. But just like you've kind of hinted out and stuff, it's using these guys over a couple outfield spots. Candelario only being third base. You have Pinder for a couple hundred more over Goodrum because you'd probably use him at second, I'm assuming. I don't know.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah, like I said, it's just if I could understand using him.
Yeah. Colorado, Houston next year. Tyler Anderson take on Garrett Cole. I feel like it's still very weird, even when good pitching comes into Colorado, that you see run totals under 5.
Yeah, it is a little bit. I'm going to get this out of the way. Tyler Anderson might be viable in tournaments.
I'm not frozen. I just haven't made a movement on my face.
He's going to have to worry about, Bregman. Springer, I guess. And then, you get a bunch of guys that just have not been good against lefties this season. And,
yeah.
Anderson's been really good against righties.
He has been. I mean, as I said earlier, he's been solid of late. I don't have a ton of interest in Houston as far as some of these guys go. Um, I do like Josh Reddick in this spot. Cheaper outfielder, 4K. He's actually hit lefties somewhat well this year, 250 ISO, and Anderson has struggled a little bit with lefties along at 200 ISO. Um, I do like Bregman and Springer as pay up options, and I do really like Max Stassi as well, who's I feel like is too cheap for getting a lefty in cores.
Yeah, I could definitely. I mean, Stassi's a guy that, like at 3,900 is in a really good spot, but like I guess like Bregman, if you wanted to roll, if you're dying to get exposure here, it would be Bregman, Springer, Stassi, I think for me. But like still, those price tags, like Carpenter's a little bit cheaper at third base. In the outfield, like 5,500 for Springer, and I can get guys cheaper. Like I don't feel like I need to force Coors exposure in this spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, for Houston facing a lefty in cores, this 5.5 rental isn't as appealing as what it looks like.
No, and like I said, I actually think that Tyler Anderson is a good tournament option here. Like he has pitched pretty darn well at home recently, shut down some pretty good offenses. Um, yeah, I think he's viable in tournaments.
Flip side of this one, we got Garrett Cole here, who's bounced back, 19 strikeouts over his last two starts. It took him getting into cores to not be 14K. This rental is still baffling me. Like I kind of feel like there's some strikeout upside here for Cole. Like I actually think he could be viable in tournaments as well.
He could. There is definitely some strikeout upside. I mean, dude still has a 35% strikeout rate this season. Like that's still ridiculous. And this is a offense in Colorado. Like once you get past the top three of like Blackman, I guess Gerardo Parra is supposed to bat second. That's kind of weird. But like once you get past the top three, there's a decent amount of strikeouts in that lineup. Like you get down to Cargo 23.5, Story 25, Desmond 27, Ionetta 28, Hampson. Whoever the hell that is, I have not been paying attention to the Rockies recently, apparently. He strikes, I mean, we're only dealing with 7 plate appearances, but 28% strikeout rate against righties. So there's some strikeouts in that lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hampson's filling in for LeMahieu, who hit the DL, but yeah, I mean, it's you get LeMahieu out of this lineup, there's only a couple bats to worry about. You got a lot of multi-strikeout guy upside here. You mentioned it in that back half. I mean, Story and Desmond could easily supply like half of his strikeouts tonight.
Yeah, like Story's good. I mean, Cole's got like at least 3 strikeouts if he goes like 7 innings just off a Story. So
yeah, I think he's. I mean, GPPs. I'm probably going to have a share of Cole or two.
If I were building like a bunch of lineups, I would probably have a share or two of both pitchers in this game.
Chicago, LA next year. I mean, do you have any interest in anyone against Cole?
No.
I don't either. I don't feel like there's any reason to go there at these prices.
Nope.
Chicago, LA next here. Carlos Rodon taking on Felix Pena. I feel like Pena is interesting if he could go a little deeper.
That's what she said. Sorry, I had to do it. I couldn't help myself. I know it's supposed to be a family-friendly podcast, but I couldn't help myself.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been funny. Well, it was funny, but I know you barely kind of got going on The Office. I don't know. Did you stick with The Office?
Oh yeah, I watched the entire thing.
Oh, all right. I know you weren't as high on it as I was, but I liked the part where he goes, "That's what she said," and he looks in the camera, or he said.
I guess I could have done that. Yes.
If we just wanted to make it a very neutral liberal podcast.
There we go.
Pena, I feel like a guy who has some strikeout upside here in this spot, like heavy slider pitcher against a White Sox team that does strike out quite a bit. Decent ballpark. The problem is that he's just not going to go like more than 5-6 innings here.
Yeah, but if he can go 5 and a third, and get the win and a heap of strikeouts, he could easily pay off that salary. I mean, he's 5,500 on DraftKings, so if you're trying to get a ton of exposure, or like a ton of expensive bats, that would be a good way to do it. Like you'd go like Pena and Lauer and then just pay up for bats.
Yeah, I like that. I think I like using him as a pivot off of Lauer too, who's just going to be mega chalk. And like, I don't feel like Lauer has the strikeout upside that Pena does.
Yeah, I can agree there.
I don't have any interest in Chicago bats. Do you?
No.
I don't even have interest in Angels bats either.
No, they've just been so bad against lefties this season.
Yeah, like
except for that Mike Trout guy and Jeffrey Marte.
Yeah, I don't feel the need to go here tonight. And the Angels are another team that just Vegas loves to price up, I feel, because of this lineup, and I'm not buying it.
Yeah.
Other options, San Francisco and Seattle, you got James Paxton and Andrew Suarez. I think Paxton has a little bit of asterisk next to me here for just because he's coming off the DL. He only pitched 2/3 inning last time against LA before he left with a back issue. That's a concern for me.
Yeah, and he only got 40 pitches in a bullpen session.
Yeah.
I can't pay that price for him in this spot. I can't.
I can't either. We've named a handful of other pitching options for 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 less, even that I feel like you could go with instead.
Yeah.
So this game is pretty mad to me. Obviously, if you want to use a Nelson Cruz against a lefty, go for it. He's 4K on DraftKings.
Yeah, that's. I know he has not. Yeah, I don't know what DraftKings is doing there. Like, they just still got a 368 ISO against lefties this season. Like, I know it's a bad ballpark, but 4K for Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, that's way too cheap.
I'm at a loss for words. I know he hasn't been great recently. Like, he hasn't been great for the majority of the season, but it's still, yeah.
Yeah, I know. A lot of his power came in that 2 to 3 week window where he pummeled 12, 15 home runs.
Yeah.
So, home run calls or anyone else here?
No.
Home run calls. What do you got?
Corey Dickerson and Mark Canha.
Ooh, all right. I'm going to go Chad Pinder. I thought you were going to take Pinder from me.
No, I swiped left on that call.
And then I'm going to go Kyle Schwarber. So for us, we're off tomorrow with the 4-game slate, but we'll be back on Thursday, which is a little bit bigger. So we'll see you guys then.
See you Thursday.